evening, and thank you for tuning in to another week with the West Garfield Park Youth Council, which is sponsored by Fathers Who Care. And I was given another opportunity this evening to sit in instead of one of our youth council members to actually interview one of my mentors. Normally our young people would be doing the shows, and they're out there doing the shows now, and I want to thank all of the West Garfield Park Youth Council, the leadership, the president, vice president, Vernisha, David, Orlando, Angelo, Shania, Amara, all of them. I can't remember all of them out there, but they're there. And I want to thank them for the work that they're doing and their commitment to doing it without being caught up. And they're actually doing good work. So I just want you, those who are watching today, to know that the Youth Council is in the studio, but they're giving me the opportunity to actually interview our Congressman Danny Davis of the 7th Congressional District. So you'll be watching the show for the next 25 minutes, and in those minutes we will discuss some issues of the day and allow our congressman to educate, to enlighten, and to empower our young people on this show. Listen, of course, it's as always, our job here is to try to empower, to engage, and enlighten young people to be the best that they can. And we believe that the west side of Chicago have some very enlightening and I mean powerful young folks that just need a little violence, a little advice, a little guidance, and some direction. And we really believe that young people can be whatever they want to be if they have some examples. So with that being said, we want to kind of flip this script right quick off the table and just talk about what we can do to empower our young folks, but also to talk specifically about the state of the 7th Congressional District. We want to talk to our congressman about what's going on specifically with the ACA, what's going on with the firing of all of these people out of the administration, what's going on in Washington, what can we do as lay people, as citizens of the community, to rally behind our congressman to do what we need to do to stand up for the rights of folks before they lose their health insurance, to stand up for the rights of folks who are battling, who are trying to do whatever they can to make ends meet, just to do the right thing in the community. So with that being said, again, I tell you, you're watching the West Garfield Park Youth Council. The number here is 312-738-1060. And now I will introduce again our guest, none other than the distinguished gentleman, Congressman Danny Davis of the 7th Congressional District, my mentor, my congressman, I personally think, the most personable and welcoming congressman that I've known, that I've ever met. And I think he's the one that's really concerned about empowering our future leaders. He's concerned about the people in the community, and he's concerned about leaving a legacy for those behind us. I mean, you know the story. The Bible tells us to leave an inheritance for your children's children's children. And I believe that this congressman stands on those platforms or on those stairs of trying to be an example. So with that being said, Congressman, I just want to again welcome you and thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And in spite of everything that's going on in Washington, I'm surprised you're even home.
Well, let me just thank you, and let me thank the West Garfield Park Youth Council.
Yes, sir.
For all of the outstanding work and leadership that all of you are doing. You know, the songwriter said that our children are the future.
Absolutely.
Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride. And I think that's exactly what you're doing. I think that's what the West Garfield Park Youth Council is doing, not only for themselves, but for other young people, because they are role models and examples of what young people are and what young people can be. So I'm just delighted to be here with you and with all of them.
Well, thank you, Congressman, and I would be remiss if I didn't say I've been around you for many years, and in doing such, I've developed a certain drive, a certain spirit to empower, all right? And so, of course, you know, it's fatherhood, it's seniors, and of course, it's our young people, and of course, community organizers. But I would be remiss if I didn't say a lot of what I do, I'm standing on your shoulders. Right?
Well,
so thank you.
I just thank God, quite frankly,
Absolutely.
for the opportunity to be useful and be of service. And if I can be an instrument of the will, the hope, and aspiration of people, then I feel that my living on this earth will not have been in vain. I will have been engaged, I will have made a difference, and when the time comes to go up yonder, I believe that the master will be waiting at
say,
the
"Servant,
gate
well done."
and say, "Well done,
My
good
faithful.
and faithful servant."
Yes.
Say, "Come on,
Come on
and
up."
let's have some of this milk and honey."
Absolutely.
And
Well, Congressman, as always, it's a pleasure. Congressman, what we'd like to do tonight is, we really want to kind of talk about the state of the 7th Congressional District.
well, you know, our country, our world is, quite frankly, in a great deal of uncertainty and turmoil. And so if the world is in turmoil, not only are we having exciting issues going on here, but we have them in France, we have them in North Korea, we have them in South Korea, we have them in Taiwan, we have them in China, we have them in India. I spent much of the morning with one of the governors of a state in India who is also a member of the Prime Minister's cabinet. And of course, you can't have any leadership greater than that in a country,
Okay.
period. And of course, you know that India is the biggest democracy in the world. And so we're not just local. We are national, we are international, but we are a part of the world's order. And what's going on in the 7th District, we have a tremendous amount of uncertainty. We have unemployment. We have people in need of every service that you can provide.
Absolutely.
But we also have hope. And when I see these young people who are exuberant, who are eager to learn, who are comrades with each other, who are developing friendships and relationships, I say there is hope, because the hope is on the shoulders and in the hands of those young people that we call the West Garfield Park Youth Council and other young people like them throughout the world.
Congressman, thank you again. But let me ask this question. We know the work that you do as a representative. You're a member of Congress. We know how committed you as a servant for social change have been. But what do you do when you're not serving? What do you do to replenish yourself, to remotivate yourself, other than the faith? I know your faith is strong, but what do you do to kind of...
Well, everything that one can do is right at hand. I read. I'm an avid reader. I love to read. I'm a poet. I read poems. I read poetry. I listen to music, every kind, gospel, blues, jazz. I even play a little softball every once in a while.
So that's your outlet.
So I watch television. I've got some favorite television shows. But I watch the news a great deal, because knowing what's going on in the world helps to reinforce the energy that I need. There are 435 people exactly like me.
You're talking about the Congress.
That's right.
The representatives, the House of Representatives.
There are 435 of us in the House, 100 in the Senate, and we make laws that govern this whole country. Each one of us represent in the House 700,000 people, give or take. Some may have a little more than 700,000. Some may have a few less than 700,000. But representing 700,000 people is a tremendous amount of responsibility. Every time you make a decision, that decision reflects not only your thinking, but it also reflects the hopes that these people had when they elected you, when they voted for you. So you feel the weight of that responsibility.
Do you still feel a passion to serve? Do you still feel that you love what you're doing, that this is your calling?
I'm just like a racehorse.
A racehorse.
When the
thoroughbred.
when the shot goes
You're off.
I'm ready to run. Some
Okay.
nights I can hardly go to sleep for waiting to wake up to get up the next morning to start
He done
on
got his
the
feet on the
day
ground again, huh?
and get something done.
Right.
The challenges that we face, but the opportunities that there are. And I must confess that if you can motivate, stimulate, and activate others, one person never solved all the problems of the world. One person never created all of what was needed, but one person can be a spark. When I first decided to run for public office as an alderman, I said to myself, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a little flame here in the 29th Ward. And now I've been elected for several years, and I'm still trying to fan that flame and still trying to stimulate. You know what I always say to myself is that I am not all people, but I am one.
Okay.
I cannot do all things, but I can do some. And that which I can do, I will do. And to everybody else, you should too.
Okay, Congressman, we appreciate that. We got a caller. What we would like to do is set the tone. We got Congressman Davis on the show. We're asking those to call in right now at 312-738-1060. We're talking this evening about the state of the 7th Congressional District. We're talking about what you think are some issues in your community or what we can do to empower, to enlighten, and to engage each other. Congressman, let's get back to you. You say you enjoy serving and this is just your passion, this is just your calling, correct?
It is correct.
So what can we do, or better yet, what are your responsibilities as one of the 435 members of the House of Representatives?
Let me try
What's
to-
the role of a representative?
Yeah, let me try and explain this so that anybody can understand it. We are primarily decision makers. We decide, for example, how much money is it going to take to operate the United States of America from the beginning of one fiscal year until the end of that year. We also decide not just how much money it's going to take, but we also have to figure out a way to get that money. I mean, if it's
Right.
going to take $20 trillion, where do we get that money from?
Right.
How do we get it? And that means that we have to figure out tax rates. We have to figure out how much income tax people will pay, how much income tax corporations will pay, what services can be provided that will generate some money. Because ideas without the ability to implement them doesn't mean quite the same thing. I can hope, I can wish, but then I can figure out what can we actually do.
Okay, thank you, Congressman. Okay, you're watching the West Garfield Park Youth Council. I'll be hosting it this evening as a guest host. Of course, the number here is 312-738-1060. We have the distinguished gentleman here, our Congressman of the 7th Congressional District, Congressman Danny Davis. We're talking about the state of the 7th Congressional District and issues you should know. Of course, the Congressman is enlightening our youth council members this evening with information about so many various different issues and concerns, and of course, that's the purpose why we do what we do. But Congressman, what's the budget of the United States?
We just passed a spending plan.
Right.
And ultimately, most of the latest years, we have not had what is called an actual budget.
Okay.
We have been operating on what is called a continuing resolution.
Okay.
And what that has meant is that you continue as you are because you have not been able to get agreement on what would be called an actual budget.
Okay.
The difference between the way we operate and the way local governments operate.
Like the state?
Local government have to balance a budget. They have to have a balanced budget.
Okay.
That is, if you say you're going to spend $10 million, you also have to know where you're going to get $10 million from.
Okay.
Or at least you have to say you know.
Okay, okay.
And you have to, plan it out and lay it out. The federal government, we can borrow. I'm saying we can spend and don't exactly know where we're going to get the money from. Right now, our government, our country is $20 trillion in debt. Now that sounds like it's way out. And it is.
Yeah,
that's a
for the
lot of
average
money.
person.
But how do you reduce the debt? There are only a couple ways to reduce debt. You either have to cut what you've been spending.
Right.
Well, I don't want to cut what we've been spending.
Okay, okay.
Or you have to figure out a way to get more money. See, if you get more money, then you can spend more money and you're not going in debt.
Hold on for a minute, Congress. We got 3 callers that want to talk to you. Now, the Congressman is talking about the continuing resolution and talking about the budget. And now we got some callers. Let's get some callers in here for the Congressman. Of course, the number here is 312-738-1060. The distinguished gentleman is Representative, our Congressman of the 7th Congressional District. You on there? Your comment or question, please?
Yes, I have a question. My question is to the Congressman. Congressman, I want to know I really want to know what is going on with the reason why the Republicans and the Democrats cannot come together to make a decision, because it seems like that's what's holding everybody back, is because the Republicans refuse to allow the Democrats to have a say-so about anything, as if they are scared that if the Democrats say something, that the Democrats are going to overpower what they're saying. And I don't understand, because when Obama was in office, he was willing to work with everybody. And now that Trump is in office, he don't want to work with anybody, and he don't want the Democrats to have a say-so about anything. Tell me what your opinion is about that.
Thank you so much for the call.
And please listen carefully.
Listen carefully.
People have disagreed with each other ever since the beginning of time. I'm saying the reason Democrats and Republicans have a hard time getting together is that Democrats believe and think one way. Many Republicans believe and think another way. And so government was created for the purpose of trying to manage conflict in society. If you are a Christian person and believe in the Bible, and you believe what you were taught in the book of Genesis, that there were only a few people in the world. There were 2 brothers, Cain and Abel. one of them killed the other one. And as far as I could determine at that time, wasn't nobody here but Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, and supposedly they had another brother named Seth, but he didn't do much, so nobody knew much about him. I'm saying it's human nature for people to want different things. And then government is supposed to be a civilized way of determining what you're going to actually do. Okay. I'm saying Reverend Jones and I may want different things, and we decide that neither one of us is going to get exactly what we want.
Right.
But we can compromise, and he can wear a brown suit.
Right.
And I can wear a green suit, and we still all right.
Absolutely. But with that said, we got some more callers, but would you do me a favor, Congressman? I'm working, of course, today to empower these young people. But today, I'm honored to say today is my wife's birthday and my anniversary. And would you do me
well, you know, the Bible, we've been talking about the Bible.
Sure.
The Bible says that when a man findeth a wife,
a good thing,
he finds a good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have been very fortunate to have found a wife.
Right.
And it is a pleasure for me to wish both of you a happy anniversary.
Thank you, Congressman.
And wives also have birthdays and things like that, too.
Absolutely.
And so if you can get an anniversary and a birthday all at the same time, and the only thing your husband is talking about is his wife's birthday and their anniversary, that should make a wife pretty proud.
I love you, darling. You have the congressman who just said happy birthday to you, dear. You did hear that, didn't you? I don't think there's anything smoking on this side of the Jordan that has this proposal today. I love you, and the congressman just reinforced it. Cynthia, thank you so much, and happy birthday to you. Caller, you on the air. Your comment or question?
Yes, and it's a great day to be on God's green earth.
Absolutely.
And before I get started, I'd like to wish every female that's listening a happy Mother's Day.
Absolutely.
And a great happy Mother's Day.
All right.
Congressman and Abel Cain, that's a good story. That's a story I always remember. But listen, in the beginning of your statement, you're stating how everything is in a turmoil in all these countries. But listen, we live in the United States of America. Never in my life have I ever seen so much turmoil that's going on right now. I mean, listen, President Donald Duck is in office, and he's the one that's starting all this mess. So you mentioned mentorship. Mentorship might be the way. See, we always waiting for somebody to do something for us. We always waiting for somebody to do something for us. So maybe this mentorship would be a wonderful thing, because we need young voters. We need voters to get out. And maybe that's the way to change things.
So what's your question, though, for the congressman tonight, though? What's your question?
Well, the question for Congressman, you know, I listen to you every week. I think you're a heck of a good man.
And that's on Friday. You still at 5 o'clock?
Yes, sir, 5:30.
5:30, Channel 21,
I've been calling him for
CAN-TV?
years. Listen, what I would like for you to do, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't let no one tear you down. You know how many times I get angry at people calling you and saying certain things. You never let nothing pull you down. Stand on your square, keep on doing it, stay strong, and don't worry, everything will happen. Listen, I want to appreciate y'all guys taking the call. I don't want to hog up your show.
Well, you know how we do it. We just trying to do what we can to be of service to the least of them.
Let me get out there so I can hear your response. And thanks for taking the call.
Thank you so much. Listen, just for the record, Congressman Davis's weekly television show on this show, CAN-TV, is tomorrow, Friday at 5:30. Tomorrow, CAN-TV 21, 5:30. Let's get the next caller. Caller, you on air with Congressman Davis. Your comment or question?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What sacrifices did you have to make to get to your position?
What?
Sacrifices.
Sacrifice, okay, sacrifices.
Well, you know, I was very fortunate. I've worked hard all of my life. When I was a youngster, I lived on a farm, and we developed a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
So I knocked on thousands of doors over a period of time. I ran for office, it was a big snowstorm, and it was cold that year. I first ran in 1979, and they had one of the biggest snowstorms that we've ever had. Snow was on the ground. I had hip boots. I did every kind of thing. But I don't think I made any sacrifices other than, because if you do something you want to do, and you know what you've got to do in order to do it, then you just do what you have to.
Congressman, I can't lose this time. We got a few minutes coming. Congressman, what is the state of the Affordable Care Act?
Well,
Can I
you
ask
know,
that question?
Affordable Care Act right now is still in play.
The land of the law.
The Republicans have been trying to get rid of it. They've put it on the floor of the House for 65 or 70 times. Once they've passed it, but in order to pass a law, you got to get both the House and the Senate to pass it, and the president must sign it. So all they've done is step one.
217.
The House
plus
passed
213.
to abolish, repeal, and replace the Affordable Care Act, but it's not repealed, it's not replaced, it's still standing, and it's operating the same way it was before we voted last week.
So what's the pulse?
Well, the pulse now seems to be that the American people want to keep the Affordable Care Act because it's the best thing that's happened to health care since the mid-1960s when Congress passed Medicare and Medicaid, which provided a way for old people and poor people to pay for health services.
Okay. Listen, you heard it. Listen, we could talk all night with the congressman, but I want to encourage those young folks who need activities, who need some assistance to get in touch with the West Garfield Park Youth Council at 773-287-5821. The Youth Council meet every Monday evening for their Youth Council meeting, but they're actively involved all week long at Fathers Who Care. The number there is 773-287-5821. We're currently got young folks who are actively getting ready to get involved in some training, Congressman.
Oh, that's
some
wonderful.
Subsidized training.
Right on.
So that they can get some dollars to do some assistant, to learn how to work ethics, what you were saying.
Yes.
Job readiness skills, understand the value of trying to save a couple of dollars and being accountable for working for those dollars. So we've been working with a group called Yes Chicago and some other groups like the Chicago Area Project.
All
So
right.
we've been rallying the folks together, whoever that may have some support to help our babies.
Oh, that's
So we
beautiful.
thank you so much, Congressman. We got the sign on the wall, or should we say on the monitor here, saying that it's time for us to wrap it up. So, Congressman, again, we want to thank you so much. Is there a closing thought you would like to give in about 20 seconds?
Well, the only closing thought I need to give is to be yourself. Work hard, dream, have a vision, and know that if you work, you can overcome any circumstances that exist.
Okay, thank you, Congressman. I can't forget this. We're visiting Sheridan Correctional Center again in June.
We're going to do that the Saturday before Father's Day
Right.
when we take 2 busloads of children to see their fathers who are incarcerated in the penitentiary at Sheridan.
And then we're doing the State of the African American Male
And
in August.
we'll do the State of the African American Male because black boys and young men are part of what we call at-risk population groups. We'll do that now in September.
So listen, call the Congressman tomorrow on CAN TV at 5:30. We thank you so much. Congressman, thank you so much for all that you do for so many people. We love you so much. We love all of you, those who was able to get through and those who weren't. Thank you, CAN TV. God bless you. Good night. Keep the faith, and we're out until next week. Good night.
Thank you so much.